Good day, everyone. I am Perwell Orlando. Today, we will present our observation report for learning episode number 10 that focuses the instructional cycle. So, in this episode, we will explore the essential guiding principles for selecting and utilizing effective teaching methods. In this episode, also, we will delve into lesson development through the outcome based teaching and learning approach, or what we call OBTL, that focusing on how to align lessons with the K 12 curriculum and teacher education standards. So, in this episode, it emphasizes the importance of outcome oriented lesson delivery, while also examining various types of questions and effective questioning techniques that somehow influence classroom interaction. So, by reviewing these elements, we will reinforce key theories from the teaching methods and strategies, courses, and other educational subjects that will help to enhance our understanding of impactful teaching practices. So, to formally start our presentation, I will show you the intended learning outcomes. So as you can see here, at the end of this episode, we must be able to identify the application of some guiding principles in the selection and use teaching strategies. Next is determine whether or not the lesson development was in accordance with outcome-based teaching and learning. Then identify the resource teacher's questioning and reacting techniques. And lastly is to outline a lesson in accordance with outcome-based teaching learning. At this juncture, let's revisit the learning essentials. So as you can see, there are guiding principles in the selection and use of teaching methods. So the first guiding principle is learning is an active process. So when we say learning as an active process, it means that acquiring knowledge and skills requires engagement and effort from the learner. So rather than passively receiving information, active learning involves interacting with the material through activities like problem solving, discussions, and practical application. So in this approach, it will help deepen understanding, improve retention, and of course, foster critical thinking by encouraging our future learners to actively participate in their own learning journey. So now let's proceed to the next principle, which is the more senses that are involved, the more and the better the learning. So when more senses are involved in learning, it enhances the depth and retention of information. So engaging multiple senses helps create a more comprehensive mental representation of the material. So for instance, seeing and hearing information simultaneously can reinforce understanding and memory because it activates different neutral pathways, making the learning more robust and more integrated. So imagine class or imagine everyone that when you are learning about a plant, then if you read about it, then that is seeing. Then when you listen to someone who explaining it, then that is hearing. And then you touch and smell the plant, then that is touching and smelling. So basically, you are using multiple senses. So this combined sensory experiences helps you remember the plant's characteristics better than if you only read about it or only saw pictures of it. Now, let's proceed to the third principle, which is a non-threatening atmosphere. So, it makes learning easier because people feel safe and comfortable. When learners are not worried about it making mistakes or making judged, they are more likely to ask questions or they are more comfortable to interact with their teachers. And also, they are more likely to participate and engage with the material. So, this supportive environment helps them understand and remember information better. Now, let's proceed to the fourth principle, which is emotion has the power to increase retention and learning. So we all know that emotion can boost learning and retention because it makes information more meaningful and memorable. So when people experience strong feelings such as excitement, curiosity, or even stress, their brains pay more attention and create stronger connections with the information. So this makes it easier to recall the material later. So for this instance, a passionate teacher, especially Kita as a future educator, compelling story can make lessons more engaging and help students remember what they have learned. So the fifth principle emphasizes that good teaching goes beyond recall information. So, when it comes to teaching, as a future educator and aspiring educator, we have to think that good teaching is about more than just helping students remembering facts. So, it involves helping them how to understand concepts deeply, how to think critically, and how to apply those learnings that they have learned in different situations. So it is about guiding them to think for themselves and connect ideas rather than just memorizing and repeating information. So somehow it is all about encouraging our students to collaborate or to have a collaboration with their classmates. Now, let's proceed to the next principle, which is learning is meaningful when it is connected to students' everyday life. So, learning is more meaningful when it connects to students' everyday lives because, or in a sense, that it makes the material more relevant and engaging. So, when students can see how what they are learning applies to real life situations or their own experiences, they are more likely to understand and remember the information. So this practical connection helps them see the value of what they are learning and can increase their motivation also and interest in the subject. Now, the last guiding principle is an integrated teaching approach. So in this way, it is more effective in teaching isolated bits of information. So that is the seventh principle. So as being a teacher, we have to think that when it comes to teaching, it is more efficient when an integrated teaching approach connects different topics and concepts since it makes learning more meaningful and easier to understand. So instead of learning separate bits of information in isolation, students see how these pieces fits together and relate to real world situations. So this helps them grasp concepts and understands it more deeply and apply their knowledge more effectively. Realizing the importance of those guiding principles in teaching and learning, the Department of Education, or what we call DepEd, in the Philippines emphasizes standards and competency-based teaching through its K to 12 curriculum guide to ensure that education is aligned with specific learning standards and competencies. So, this approach aims to improve teaching effectiveness and students' learning by focusing on clear, measurable outcomes. On the other hand, the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, or what we call TESDA, has been implementing competency standards-based teaching and assessment practices ahead of DepEd and the Commission on Higher Education, or what we call CHED. So, TESDA's approach emphasizes specific skills and competencies required for various technical and vocational fields. So, in this way, the TESDA wanted to ensure that training and assessment are most likely or closely aligned with industry needs and standards. Now, the CHED Memorandum 46 Series 2012 requires Philippine higher education institution to implement outcome-based education, or what we call OBE, which focuses on achieving specific learning outcomes. So outcome-based teaching and learning, or what we call OBTL, applies this approach in classroom settings, aligning teaching methods and assessments with defined competencies. So it is similar to the K to 12 curriculum competency-based and standards-based methods. So when you apply OBTL, you see to it that teaching learning activities or what we call TLA and in turn the assessment task are aligned with the intended learning outcomes. So as you can observe, since naka-experience naman yun ta nga mag-lesson planning, the first thing that we do is to establish an intended learning outcomes, right? Or gitawag na to og lesson objectives. And diri na nato, pwede na to i-apply tong tulo ka domain, which is or which includes the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. And then after that, we have to determine which teaching learning activities and also assessment tasks nga somehow inig-apply nimo ma-attain sa imuhang intended learning outcomes. So, in conclusion, effective teaching relies on selecting methods that align with learning goals, address diverse students' needs, and are supported by evidence. So, by following these guiding principles, educators or kita as future educators, we can create a more impactful and inclusive learning environment. So, the next slides will be report by Miss Mori.
So good day once again. I'm Angeline Mori. In continuation of Rowell's report, I will discuss the lesson planning. First is the ILO or the intended learning outcomes. Second is the OBTL or the outcome-based teaching learning, and the EDS or the assessment task. And these three are crucial components that works together to create an effective learning experience. So the first is the ILOS or the intended learning outcomes. These are the specific objectives or goals that the lesson aims to achieve, and they clearly define what students should know, understand, or be able to do by the end of the lesson. So next is the OBTL or the outcome-based teaching and learning. So these are the approaches that focus on the desired outcomes of the learning process, and these make concepts are not entirely new, as they have roots in the educational theories of Benjamin Bloom and his work on mastery learning in 1971. Bloom's taxonomy of learning objectives, which are the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains, provided a foundation for OBE and OBTL as his work emphasized the importance of clearly defining learning goals and assessing students' mastery of those goals. So third is the ADS or the assessment tasks. These are the tools and methods used to evaluate whether students have achieved the ILS. And EDS can include quizzes, tests, projects, presentations, or other forms of assessment that measure students' understanding and mastery of the lesson objectives. So for effective teaching, it is essential that teachers have a strong command of questioning and reacting techniques. So these skills are vital in fostering an interactive and engaging classroom environment where students are encouraged to think critically and participate actively. So first is the questioning techniques. The ability to ask the right questions at the right time. It is a key skill for teachers. So effective questioning can stimulate students' thinking, assess understanding, and guide learning. Different types of questions can be used depending on the lesson's objectives, ranging from factual recall to higher order thinking that requires analysis, evaluation, or problem solving. So next is the reacting techniques. So equally, it is important that how teacher responds to students' answer. Teachers must be able to provide a feedback that encourage further thinking, correct misconceptions, and reinforce learning. Reacting appropriately to students' response helps create a positive learning environment and supports students' confidence and participation. So as you can see here, these are the types of questions that teachers ask. First, is the factual, convergent, closed, low-level questions. So these questions typically have one correct answer and are used to assess students' recall of facts. So example here is the who, what, where, when questions with one acceptable answers. So these questions check students' knowledge of specific information and the expected answer are straightforward. So second is the divergent, open-ended, high-level, higher order, and conceptual questions. So these questions require students to think critically and creatively, often having that one acceptable answers, and they encourage deeper understanding and exploration of concepts. So included here the evaluation, inference, comparison, application, and problem solving. So these questions promote critical thinking, analysis, and the application of knowledge in a new or complex situation. Third is the affective questions. These questions relate to students' emotions, values, and attitudes, helping to understand their personal feelings or opinions. For example, here is how would you feel if you were in the same situation as the protagonist? So these questions allow students to express their feelings, develop empathy, and reflect on their personal values and emotions.
Once again, good day everyone. I am Russell Maytaneo. To continue the discussion, these are also some of the reacting techniques that the teachers use. Okay, what comes in your mind when you hear about reacting techniques? Do you have any idea? Okay, to give you an idea about reacting techniques, it is a teaching methods used by the teachers to actively engage students and adapt lessons based on their responses. So these strategies help the teachers respond to students' needs and enhance their learning experience. So first is providing acceptance feedback. So it involves teachers recognizing and affirming students' achievements and efforts, in which it includes highlighting strengths, offering constructive suggestions for improvement, and encouraging continued practice by simply saying, great job, excellent, keep it up, and many more. This approach builds students' confidence and fosters a positive learning environment. Second is corrective feedback. It involves teachers identifying mistakes in students' work, offering solutions to fix them, and guiding improvements. So, this helps students understand errors and learn how to enhance their performance. Next is giving appropriate and sincere praises. It is just like from the to provide acceptance feedback that it also involves teachers in recognizing specific achievements and efforts genuinely, which boosts students' confidence and motivation. For example, like the teacher will going to say, a great job on your math worksheet, you got every answer right, and many more. And next is repeating the answer. So it involves teachers restating a student's correct response to reinforce learning and confirm accuracy. By this technique, it helps clarify correct answers and it encourages students by validating their understanding. Then next is explaining the answer or expanding the answer. So the teacher involves here in providing additional details or clarifications to deepen students' understanding. So these techniques help students grasp concepts more thoroughly and connect ideas. Next is rephrasing the question involves teachers restating a question in a different way to help students better understand what is being asked and to clarify any confusion. So, this technique encourages students to think critically and approach the question from a new angle. Next is asking follow-up questions. So it involves teachers posing additional questions related to a student's initial response to encourage deeper thinking and exploration of the topic. By these techniques, it helps clarify understanding, promotes critical thinking, and engages students more fully in the subject matter. Next is redirecting questions to other pupils. So it involves teachers asking additional students to answer or provide input on a question originally posed to one student. So these techniques encourages class participation, allows for diverse perspectives, and helps ensure that all students are engaged in the discussion. Next is the soliciting student questions. So it involves teachers in encouraging students to ask their own questions about the lessons or topic, or they have any confusions about the topic. In this technique, promotes active engagement that helps teachers assess understanding and allows students to explore areas of interest or confusion. Next is encouraging through nonverbal behavior. It involves using gestures, facial expressions, and body language to support and motivate students. So this includes nodding, smiling, or giving thumbs up to show approval and boost students' confidence without using words. Next, criticizing a respondent for their answer. It involves pointing out mistakes or issues in a student's response in a way that helps them understand and learn from their errors. So this technique is used to correct misunderstandings and guide students towards the correct answer. But it should be done constructively and respectfully to maintain a positive learning environment. Next is scolding for misbehavior or not listening. It involves reprimanding students for inappropriate behavior or failing to pay attention. This technique aims to correct the behavior and reinforce classroom expectation. However, it should be done carefully to ensure it's constructive and maintains respectful and supportive learning environment in which students would not be traumatizing when you are going to correct their misbehavior. Lastly, overusing expressions such as okay or right. So it involves frequently using these phrases. Additionally, like katong very good. This is usually jud nga ato jud isulti every time nga we are going to compliment our students during mga interactions with our students. So this can lead to a lack of meaningful feedback and might not adequately address or reinforce students' understanding and progress. So to avoid overusing expression like okay, all right, very good, let's consider the following strategies. So dapat we should be specific, use varied languages, offer constructive feedback, ask follow-up questions, and provide encouragement. So by varying your responses and focusing on specific constructive feedback, you can enhance your interactions with the students and support their learning more effectively. So I have a question. Why is it important for us teachers nga we should use these reacting techniques? Okay, so as I have conducted research about it, that reacting techniques are very important because it can leave a marks to your students. So whatever things that you are going to react or respond, we should be sensitive enough. Kay, we don't know if our reactions could motivate students or otherwise it could sit back or there is a drawback to them about how we're going to respond their or how we're going to support their needs or learning needs. So that's all. The next presenter will be Miss Aguilar.
Good day, everyone. I'm Cristal Marie L. Aguilar. Now let's delve in the observation part in 10.1, entitled Applying the Guiding Principles and the Selection and Use of Strategies. It was on August 21 that we conducted our observation on grade 3 students at Maasen Central School. were intended to observe the class with the use of the observation sheet would rather focus and analyze my observation with the help of these guide questions. Number one, learning is an active process. The teacher instructs the students to sing an action song before starting the class. This means that mas makatigod jud ang mga bata og they are actively involved in the learning process. Number two, a non-threatening atmosphere enhances learning. The teacher didn't humiliate anyone in front of the class, and he teach them with joy so that the students enjoy learning. This means that students need to feel safe and comfortable to learn. Number three, emotion has the power to increase retention and learning. The teacher maintains the liveliness and happiness in the learning environment to get his students enjoy and class and avoiding being bored or being tardy. Kasagaran ba diyas mga bata, dali ra maka-recall sa lesson if they feel something that they are actively engaged to the lesson. Number four, good teaching goes beyond recall of information. The teacher conducts a review before moving on the next topic to ensure that learning is taking place. This means that a good teacher helps his or her students understand and apply what they learn, not just on memorization. Next, number five, learning is meaningful when it is connected to students' everyday life. The research teacher connect their lesson in real life scenarios so that the learners will be motivated to listen their class discussion because they can relate the examples given by the teacher. Learning is more meaningful when students see how it connects to their own lives. Lastly, number six, an integrated teaching approach is far more effective than teaching isolated bits of information. The research, the research teacher goes beyond just reading from the book and helps students to see how the lesson applies in real life. They make the material more relevant and engaging by connecting it to everyday experiences. So this means that connecting different subjects and ideas helps students understand things better.
So good day everyone. I'm Maria Cristel A. Credo. So I'm going to present the analyze part. So what is the best method of teaching? Is there such a thing? So there is no single best teaching method because students learn in different ways. What works for one group may not work for another. So teachers should avoid sticking to just one method. Instead, teachers should experiment with various approaches to best suit their students and classroom settings. So for me, wa gadyoy kanang best method of teaching kay ang mga students are diverse. They learn in different ways. So as a teacher, maningkamot ka og pangita og mga teaching methods or teaching strategies nga mo fit sa imong mga learners. Dili kay magpataka ra ka og hatag pero dili daay mo suit sa imong mga learners. So imo sang kanang imo bang tan-awon kung asa sila dapit mo excel or asa sila dapit ganahan kay para ang mga students mo maengganyo pod nga mo kat-on. So there's no such best method of teaching gajud kay learners learn in different ways. So, good day everyone. My name is Joindra Gujano. So, reflect. How do we select the appropriate strategy for our lessons? So, effective teaching requires choosing tactics that align with both teaching objectives and student needs. Since students learn differently, it's helpful to use various methods and activities in a single class. Understanding the diversity of learners and their different strengths is crucial. Teaching strategies should be flexible and informed by Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence theory, which acknowledges that students may excel in different areas. In a classroom, there is a diversity of learners. Learners differ from each other. So that is the reason why we should know the art of teaching and learning where it should be flexible and will cater all kinds of learners.
Once again, I am Cruel Orlando. Now, let's move on to the activity 10.2, which is determining outcome-based teaching and learning. So, we conducted our observation in Maasin Central School last August 21, 2024. So, the resource teacher that we observed was Mr. Rodney Bacala. He was teaching grade 3 level that time. In this activity, we are intended to observe a class and answer the following questions. So the first question is, did the teacher state the learning objectives or intended learning outcomes or ILO at the beginning of the class? Or did he or she share them with the class and how? So this is our answer. So, no, the teacher did not state the learning objectives or intended learning outcomes, or what we call ILO, at the beginning of the class. There was no indication also that these objectives were shared with the class. So, during our observation, we noticed na si Mr. Bacala, wala niya gi-present or gi-state ang learning objectives because one of his reason is very time-consuming na kuno. And knowing that the new Matatag curriculum has only 45 minutes per subject to integrate the lesson. So therefore, may proceed na lang siya sa discussion proper. So now, let's proceed to the second question. So the second question is, what teaching learning activities did she or he use? Did this TLA help them or her attain his or her lesson objectives or ILO? Explain your answer. So our answer is the teaching learning activity or TLA used by Mr. Bacala was an identification exercise conducted through a paper and pen method. So in this activity, students were required to identify different forms depicted in films by selecting answers from a provided box and recording their choices on a separate sheet of paper. So this TLA effectively supported the lesson objectives and intended learning outcomes by reinforcing students to understand form recognition. So the hands-on nature of the exercise combined with a visual aid of films helps students actively engaged with the material. So now let's proceed to the third and last question. So the now, let's proceed to the third and last question, which is what assessment task did the teacher employ? Is or are these aligned to the lesson objectives or what we call the ILO? So our answer is the teacher used a four picks one word activity as the assessment task. So this task involves students using paper and pen to identify common elements in film imagery. So this activity aligns with the lesson objectives of describing forms and conventions of films, as it requires students to recognize and articulate key visual and thematic elements found in film.
Once again, I'm Angeline Mori, and now I'm going to share our analyzation part. What are your thoughts about outcome-based teaching and learning or OBTL? So, outcome-based teaching and learning aligns education with meaningful, practical goals and effective educational approach that centers on achieving specific learning outcomes, making education more focused and relevant to students' future needs. Outcome-based teaching and learning, it is as essential because it is centers on what students need to achieve and ensuring that education is tailored to their specific needs and goals by focusing on clear, measurable outcomes, and OBTL helps track learners' progress effectively, making it easier to provide targeted support where needed. And this approach also sets clear expectations, giving students a clear understanding of what they should accomplish, which in turn foster motivation and purpose in their learning journey. Overall, OBTL aligns teaching methods and assessments with desired outcomes, ensuring that students
are well prepared for real-world challenges. Once again, good day everyone. I am Russell Maitaneo. I am going to present to you our reflection on the use of OBTL. So our answer is that outcome-based teaching and learning, or OBTL, focuses on achieving specific, measurable learning outcomes, aligning teaching and assessment with these goals. So this approach enhances clarity, relevance, and effectiveness in education by emphasizing what students need to learn and ensuring assessment accurately measure their progress, while OBTL offers flexibility in teaching methods and promotes continuous improvement. It can be challenging to implement and may risk narrowing the educational focus too much. Balancing this aspect is key to optimizing the benefits of OBTL. So, a ganing OBTL, it is a student-centered approach to learning and teaching, in which OBTL is focused not on what the teacher intends to teach, but rather the emphasis is on what is the outcome of the learner of that teaching is intended to be. So the basic premise of OBTL is that the teaching and learning activities, or TLAs, and assessment methods, or AMS, are constructively aligned with the intended learning outcomes, or ILOs, for the course. So have you remembered the OBTL approach to the triangle? So in other words, the outcomes could determine the curriculum content, the teaching methods and strategies, and the assessment process should be constructively aligned. And this alignment creates an integrated learning experiences that enhances teaching effectiveness, and it also improves student outcomes as all components of the coursework synergistically toward the same educational objectives.
Next is activity 10.3 entitled Applying Effective Question Techniques. Question number 1. Factual or convergent, close or low level. The example question that the research teacher asked is, can we touch visual texture? Number 2. Divergent or higher order or open-ended conceptual. The example question that the research teacher asked is, how do you think adding texture to a drawing change how it looks? A. Evaluation. The example question that the teacher asked is, which technique do you think is better for showing rough texture, cross-hatching, or pointillism? Why? B. Inference. The example question that the research teacher asked is, if you see a picture with many dots, what kind of texture might it have? C. Comparison. The example question that the research teacher asked is, how is cross-hatching different from pointillism? D. Application. The example question that the research teacher asked is, can you draw a simple picture using cross-hatching to show texture? E. Problem solving. The example question that the research teacher asked is, if your drawing looks too flat, what could you do to make the texture stand out more? Lastly, number 3, affective. The example question that the research teacher asked is, how do you feel when you create texture in your drawing? What does it make your drawing more interesting?
So once again, I'm Joy Angel Gajano. So analyze. Neil Postman once said, children go to school as a question marks and leave school as periods. Does this have something to do with the type of questions the teachers ask and the questioning and reacting techniques reacting that they employ? So the quote, children go to school as a question marks and leave as periods emphasizes how crucial questioning is in education. The, the questions teachers ask and their approach to questioning affect students' curiosity and learning. Good questioning keeps students engaged encourages ongoing curiosity. So this quotation has something to do with successful questioning of a teacher inside a classroom. That one important but critical component of the teaching and learning process is the knowledge and abilities employed in asking various types of questions in the classroom. Questions are significant variables in the teaching and learning process because children's accomplishment and level of involvement are influenced by the types of questions teachers create or utilize in the classroom. As a result, teachers must be cautious while designing or formulating questions in order to pique students' interest, elicit ideas, clarify concepts, and challenge preconceptions. When students are asked the correct questions, they improve their listening and thinking skills as a result. Teachers must evaluate their current questioning strategies. Now let's proceed to the reflect part. Reflect on the importance of using reacting techniques. Using different reacting techniques is important because it helps to better understand and manage how you feel. By having multiple ways to react, you can choose the best way to handle different situations. It also helps you to stay calm and think clearly when things go wrong. This flexibility makes it easier to understand with others and avoid conflicts. Finally, it helps you grow and learn from your experiences. So, it is really important that we should use various reacting techniques because as what I have said earlier that students learn in different ways. So, as a teacher, it is important to remember that not all students learn at the same pace. So teachers should be prepared to provide extra support for those who need it. So as future teacher, mangita ni gyud tag pamaagi kung asa mahiyang ang atong mga estudyante, asa sila dapit katigumukat-on or sa unsang pamaagiha sila nga learning style dali maka-adapt. So in this process, mas mapadali ang atong teaching and learning process. So now let's proceed to learning artifacts. Show proofs of learning that you were able to gain in this episode by interviewing at least two teachers on their thoughts on OBTL. So mauni ang among learning artifacts sa ani nga episode. So dito mi sa Maasin Central School and then nag-interview mi og duha ka teacher which is si Sir Rodney Bacala ug si Sir Pilin. Ingon sila nga ang OBTL. So, OBTL, outcome-based teaching and learning, emphasizes aligning teaching methods and assessment with specific learning outcomes. The resource teachers often view that OBTL positively because it clarifies expectations for students and focuses on measurable results. It can lead to more targeted instructions and better assessment practices. However, some challenges include the need for substantial planning and adaptation, as well as ensuring that all students meet the defined outcomes. Overall, while it may require adjustments, educators find OBTL beneficial for improving educational effective. So, both the resource teachers niingon nga ang OBTL is nindot, but ingon sila nga naapoy challenges kay maglisod man sila og pangitag mga assessment nga mo align sa OBTL. So sa ingan nga pamaagi, mangita agad sila kanang paraan nga ang ilang lessons, ang ilang mga activities ma-align sa OBTL para ang mga estudyante makuha nila ang targeted nga learning. Kay para smooth ra ang process sa teaching and learning process. So that would be our report all about. Thank you for watching and listening. Have a good day and God bless us all.